A former Vice President Joe Biden's latest slip-up, now potentially revealing his intentions for 2020.
Folks, I know I get criticized. I'm told I get criticized by the new left. I have the most progressive record of anybody running for the anybody who would run. I didn't mean. But anybody who would run.
So if Biden is the next Democrat to join the presidential race, does he have a chance at the nomination? Here now to debate it is contributor at The Hill, Kristin Tate, and Democratic strategist Mark Levine. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Kristin, first of all, do you think that was really a slip-up? I mean, he's been known for a slip-up a time or two. And what impact do you think he'll have on the race if and when he does enter it?
I do think he'll enter this race, and I've said for a long time, Heather, that I think Joe Biden has the best chance at beating Trump in 2020. Today, the Democratic Party largely stands for open borders, flagrant socialism, higher taxes, and late-term abortions. And while this agenda may be very appealing to the far left, it's quite terrifying to working-class Americans. You have former blue dog Democrats who voted Trump in 2016 who just feel really alienated by the party and the direction it's going in. So as a moderate, Joe Biden could be the guy to bring those voters back under the Democratic Party's tent and to win back those critical states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. He also has a track record of working across the aisle. He was the guy who negotiated with Mitch McConnell on the fiscal cliff deal, and he was a big part of the negotiations that extended the Bush tax cuts. So I think he's a good pick for the Democrats. I think his only weakness, if he got the nomination, would be mobilizing millennial voters and minority voters.
Mark, what do you think about that? Let's take a look at this Democratic favorability poll. This was from Real Clear Politics. Their average 29% say that they favor Joe Biden, who hasn't even officially entered the race yet. So what does that tell you?
It's no surprise that Joe Biden's a front runner. Joe Biden is loved by all wings of the Democratic Party. I should just say I thought it was laughable when Kristin described our agenda. Our agenda is something like keeping Medicare around, whereas we know Republicans and Donald Trump want to cut Medicare and make it harder to get health care. You know, it's education. It's not whatever, all these crazy things she said. But Joe Biden, he is solid. I agree with her that Joe Biden will be the front runner in the race. He'll be the person to beat. He was a fantastic vice president. He's well loved by all wings of our party. You know, we've got lots of great candidates to choose from, but Joe Biden, absolutely the front runner.
You know, even Joe Biden in his speech, he referenced being criticized by what he called, Kristin, the new left. And by that, I think he did mean some of the more extreme issues that they are running on and talking about.
The left has become totally extreme. Just to push back on what my fellow panelists just said, the left is pushing for single-payer health care, Medicare for all, which would bankrupt this country, free college, which of course isn't really free. It would just increase taxes, and tax rates as high as 70%. This kind of stuff really drives away working-class and blue-collar voters. The Democrats, if they want any chance at taking back the White House, need a candidate who can tap into those voters and win them back.
And Mark, who do you think that candidate could be?
Well, I said Joe Biden's a front runner, but we have lots of really good candidates. I mean,
but in reference to some of those issues, can he stand strong on those issues? Because, I mean, you can't argue with that. Some of the candidates have talked about taxing people up to 70%.
I don't know of a single candidate who has. I'll ask Kristin to name who's running for president. I mean, you could find some freshman congressperson, but in terms of a presidential candidate, Democrats don't support that. We do support health care, though. We support health care for all.
And that's
a distinction. That's got nothing to do with 7% tax cuts. We do believe that we have to fight climate change. We do believe in science, and we believe in health care. And I think that's really important. 35 nations have universal health care, and all of them pay half of what we pay, and they all live longer than we do. So what is England and France and Canada and Japan, what New Zealand, what do they know that we don't know? I think that is going to be an issue in the campaign. Health care,
let's move on to this next topic, though, because several of the male Democratic candidates already signaling that they will pick a female running mate. So is that wise to do, Kristin, to pick someone on the basis of whether they're male or female, or should they be picked on the basis of their policies?
Well, of course, they should be picked on the basis of their policies, but the left has become obsessed with intersectionality. They love dividing groups up based on gender or race and then pandering to those groups. But ultimately, female voters aren't much different from male voters. They want a healthy economy, they want access to health care, and they want safe communities for their families. And it seems to me like the Democrats didn't learn anything from Hillary Clinton's failed campaign, because in 2016, we saw that women don't just automatically and go out and vote for the female candidate. Trump won 47% of women, 52% of white women. So if the Democrats were smart, they would focus on laying out a vision for the country that is appealing to female voters, rather than assuming all women will flock to their message just because they have a woman on the ticket.
Let's listen to what Beto O'Rourke had to say in terms of choosing a female running mate.
It would be very difficult not to select a woman.
But if I have my way, there will be a woman on the ticket.
I think we would look for somebody who is maybe not of the same gender that I am.
So another example of identity politics that didn't work the first time around, Mark?
I don't think that only old white men can be president. Now, I recognize that that is the Republican Party right now. Look at more than 90% of their representatives in Congress are white men, probably more than 95%. So when they pick a woman, like when John McCain picked Sarah Palin, it's clearly tokenism. We don't have to do that because our party represents everyone. We are women and men. We are blacks and whites, Latinos, Asians, gay, straight. We have so much diversity because we represent all of America. So we don't have to do any kind of token. Hey, we don't have to do any kind of tokenism. That's right. We have Amy Klobuchar. We have Elizabeth Warren. We have strong candidates. We have Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris. There's never been a Republican elected woman that's run for president. Why is that? Why is that?
Kristin, I'll let you respond, Kristin, and then we have to wrap it up.
Ran for president. Mark
that?
is just spouting out platitudes that don't really mean anything.
Let Kristin answer, and then we're going to wrap up.
To say Republicans don't care about women is laughable, and these kinds of soundbites coming from talking heads on the left.
All right. Mark, let Kristin answer, and then we're going to go. Kristin, answer.
These kinds of attacks, like saying that Republicans don't care about women, is exactly why so many voters have come to distrust politicians and talking heads on both sides of the aisle. Of course, Republicans care about women. We care about women voters. That's why we like to craft policies that deliver results for those voters. And if your party were smart, it would focus on doing the same.
All right, Kristin, Mark, thank you both for joining us. And Mark, just a bit of advice when you're talking about the importance of women and what they have to say. Perhaps you shouldn't interrupt them so much. Thank you both for joining us this morning.